Tensions have been brewing for weeks inside the Browns facility. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie who came in as a fifth-round pick with a chip the size of First Energy Stadium on his shoulder, had been methodically winning over teammates. Precise reads, controlled leadership, no wasted movements in the pocket, and just as important in today's NFL, total command of his public image. Dillon Gabriel. If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed. The veteran quarterback expected to serve as the reliable second option behind the starter had a different kind of reputation. Solid career numbers, but a habit of deflecting blame when things went sideways. The two weren't openly hostile, but the air between them was getting thicker by the day. It all came to a head one evening, not on the field, but on Instagram Live. The digital arena opens. Gabriel had gone live first. He started off harmlessly, answering fan questions, cracking jokes, reminiscing about college ball. But when someone dropped a comment about Sanders looking sharp in practice, Gabriel gave a smirk that could have cut glass. Yeah, he's got some flashes, Gabriel said, leaning back like he just tossed off a casual observation. But it takes more than one good day to run an NFL huddle. Y'all don't see what happens when the cameras aren't rolling. That was all it took. A few minutes later, Sanders himself popped into the chat. The comment section exploded, tagging him until Gabriel's grin faded. Then, without hesitation, Sanders requested to join the stream. Gabriel accepted. Opening moves, Sanders' patience. The split screen went live, and you could feel the energy shift. Gabriel had his veteran composure mask on, but Sanders didn't come in swinging. Instead, he started with a smile. Dillon, he said evenly, you've got some strong opinions. Let's talk about what happens when the cameras aren't rolling. The veteran tried to keep it light, saying things get overblown by the media. But Sanders, instead of interrupting, let him finish. Then he calmly laid out specifics. Exact drills, exact days, exact moments where Gabriel had blown a red or hesitated on a throw. He didn't embellish. He didn't raise his voice. He just dropped the facts like puzzle pieces clicking into place. The shift from friendly to surgical. About 10 minutes in, the tone changed. Gabriel went from leaning back in his chair to sitting forward, trying to counterpoint Sanders with talk of experience and knowing how to run a room. Sanders didn't flinch. Running a room, he said. I watched you last Tuesday, red zone drill. You had Amari open on a quick out, untouched, clean release, and you stared down the seam until the safety closed. That's not leadership, Dillon. That's hesitation. The chat went wild. People were screen recording. NFL meme accounts were already salivating. The emotional intelligence play. Here's where Sanders really separated himself. He didn't get baited into personal insults. No, you're washed. No, you're done. Instead, he kept framing everything around accountability. You've been in this league longer than me, Sanders said. But with that comes responsibility. If you make a bad throw, own it. If you misread the coverage, own it. Don't blame the O-line. Don't blame the weather. Own it. Gabriel tried to pivot into the classic veteran safety net. The guys in the locker room know what's real. Sanders smiled. Yeah, they do. And you might want to start asking them what they're seeing. That one landed. Gabriel's eyes darted for a second. The chat noticed. The receipts come out. This was the moment the stream went from two quarterbacks talking to career-defining confrontation. Sanders pulled out actual practice footage, clips from open media periods, visible to the public, where Gabriel had missed reads or thrown behind receivers. He didn't embellish, just narrated in a way that highlighted the disconnect between Gabriel's narrative and reality. See here? Sanders pointed out, pausing a clip. This is a cover, two look. You got the check down wide open. Instead, you forced it into double coverage. Now, you can tell fans it was a receiver's fault, but we both know the read was wrong. It wasn't cruel. It wasn't personal. It was devastating. Why it hit harder than trash talk. Trash talk can be brushed off as emotion. This wasn't that. This was a rookie quarterback using calm, logical dismantling in front of 100,000 live viewers. Every point was backed by a fact, and every fact made Gabriel's excuses look smaller. And it wasn't just about winning the argument. It was about showing he could control a situation under pressure. In essence, Sanders was quarterbacking the conversation like it was a 2-minute drill. The audience turns. By the halfway mark, the comments were overwhelmingly pro-Sanders. People who came in neutral were typing things like, "Gabriel looking real shaky right now, and this is how you lead without yelling." Memes started circulating before the stream even ended. Sanders' stock was rising in real time. He wasn't just outplaying a teammate. He was out-communicating him. In the modern NFL, where media savvy can be as important as arm strength, that matters. Gabriel's last stand. With about 5 minutes left, Gabriel tried one final pivot. The experience trumps everything card. You can't fake years in the league. Shedeur. There's stuff you only learn by living it. Sanders didn't miss a beat. "Then teach me, Dillon. Teach me what I don't know instead of talking about it like it's a secret club. Because so far, the only thing I've learned from you is how to duck responsibility. And that's not the lesson I came here for." You could almost hear the air leave the room. The stream ends, the fallout begins. When Gabriel abruptly ended the stream, the clip had already been screen captured, clipped, and sent across every sports platform imaginable. Within hours, Shedeur versus Dillon was trending nationwide. NFL commentators were weighing in, not about who should start, but about how Sanders had just given a masterclass in modern leadership. Inside the Browns facility, the conversation was different. Coaches weren't thrilled about a public airing of grievances, but they couldn't ignore the effect. Sanders had just demonstrated command under pressure, the ability to use facts over emotion, and the composure to handle 100,000 live viewers without cracking. That's not just quarterback stuff. That's franchise quarterback stuff. The new reality. From that moment, the dynamic shifted. Gabriel still had his veteran resume, but Sanders now had something you can't buy: momentum. Teammates who'd been on the fence started drifting toward his orbit. Media coverage stopped calling him the promising rookie and started calling him the challenger. The Browns front office suddenly had a PR situation on their hands. The fans were talking like a quarterback change was inevitable. And the scary thing, for Gabriel at least, was that Sanders hadn't even played a regular season snap yet. The bigger picture. What this moment proved goes way beyond one quarterback room. It showed that in 2025, the NFL is no longer just about what you do on the field. It's about how you own the narrative, how you handle pressure in every arena, including the digital one. Shedeur Sanders didn't just win a debate that night. He redefined what a quarterback battle looks like in the age of live streams, instant replay, and direct fan access. And in doing so, he might have shifted his career, and Gabriel's, forever. By the time the team walked into facility the next day, the live stream was already circulating in edited highlight reels. One was titled, "Shedeur Sanders Cooked Dillon Gabriel in 37 Minutes," and had over 1 million views. Another was a side-by-side of Gabriel's facial reactions while Sanders calmly dismantled his points, and was making the rounds on NFL meme pages. The locker room had a different kind of energy that morning, the kind that comes after a viral moment that everyone's seen but nobody's supposed to talk about. Veterans kept their heads down, rookies whispered near the lockers, and even the equipment staff seemed unusually aware of the tension. Gabriel walked in first, earbuds in, pretending like nothing had happened. A few minutes later, Sanders strolled in with the same quiet confidence he'd shown on the stream. He didn't gloat, didn't smile too wide, just nodded at a few teammates, dropped his bag, and started lacing his cleats. The players' quiet vote. In sports, you can tell who's got the room by the subtle stuff. That morning, receivers drifted toward Sanders during warm-ups. Running backs asked his opinion on route adjustments. Even a couple offensive linemen, guys who usually kept themselves, gave him an extra pat on the helmet. Nobody was staging an open rebellion against Gabriel, but you could feel the shift. When you publicly call out a teammate, and the whole team watches how you handle it, they're deciding whether to buy in. Sanders had shown he wasn't just a talker. He was willing to stand behind what he said. That's credibility. The coach's dilemma. Head coach Kevin Stefanski isn't the type to love off-field drama. His public messaging is always clean and measured. But now he had two problems. A rookie quarterback who had just captured the attention of the locker room and the fan base. A veteran quarterback who looked like he'd lost a round in the middle of training camp. Privately, Stefanski couldn't ignore the fact that Sanders' presence was changing the competitive balance. But publicly, he needed to keep control. The easiest way, keep them both in the quarterback rotation, but start giving Sanders more high-leverage reps in practice. Practice gets spicy. That afternoon's session was different. Sanders got a few first-team snaps during red zone drills. Not enough to make an official quarterback controversy, but enough for everyone to notice. The first play, he hit Amari Cooper on a back shoulder fade. Perfect timing, touchdown. The sideline erupted. When Gabriel took his turn, you could feel the comparison in the air. His first rep ended with an overthrown pass in the corner of the end zone. No one said anything, but the silence afterward was louder than words. The media smelled blood. By now, the local beat reporters were circling. They couldn't ignore the fact that Sanders had just gone viral for outdueling a teammate, and they definitely couldn't ignore that he was now getting more meaningful reps. Questions started flooding post-practice press conferences. Coach, are you evaluating Shedeur as a potential starter? How has the quarterback dynamic changed after this week's events? Is Dillon still firmly in the backup role? Stefanski tried to dodge, but every no comment only made the speculation louder. And in Cleveland, a city starved for quarterback stability, the fans were already choosing sides. Sanders' media masterclass. When Sanders finally spoke to reporters, he played it perfectly. No jabs, no victory lap. Look, Dillon's a good player. We're all here to make the team better, he said, leaning on the kind of polished tone that sounds rehearsed but genuine. My job is to prepare like I'm starting, whether I'm QB1, QB2, or QB3. That's how you earn trust. It was the perfect pivot. Acknowledge the competition, stay respectful, and still project confidence. The same calm he'd used on the live stream was now working in the press room. The owner starts watching. Jimmy Haslam isn't known for being hands-off, and word around the facility was that he'd already watched the live stream clips. When the owner starts asking about a rookie quarterback's progress directly, you know the situation is moving from camp competition to organizational talking point. Haslam reportedly made an appearance at the next practice, spending a little extra time near the quarterbacks. When Sanders hit a tight window throw on a blitz drill, Haslam gave a slow nod. That's all it took for rumors to start flying. The social media avalanche. Outside the facility, the live stream moment had become bigger than just football. Sports talk shows were debating it. Clips were being turned into motivational edits. Even non-football influencers were weighing in, calling it a masterclass in public accountability. Sanders' Instagram following jumped by 200,000 in a week. His jersey sales, already surprisingly strong for a rookie, spiked again. And endorsement offers started trickling in from brands that loved the mix of confidence, composure, and digital presence. Gabriel's uphill climb. Meanwhile, Gabriel was stuck in the hardest spot a veteran can be in, trying to win back respect after a very public loss of control. On the field, he was steady but unspectacular. Off the field, he kept a low profile, clearly trying to avoid feeding the narrative. But the reality is, once momentum shifts like this, it's hard to reverse. Every incompletion Gabriel threw became another talking point for why Sanders should get more time. Every big throw from Sanders became proof the rookie was ready. The teammate divide. Inside the locker room, it wasn't a toxic split, but there were camps forming. Younger players, especially those on offense, gravitated toward Sanders' energy. Veterans tended to stick by Gabriel out of loyalty and respect for his years in the league. That dynamic made practices even more charged. Every time Sanders led a scoring drive, you hear louder cheers from the sideline. Every time Gabriel did the same, the reaction was polite but subdued. Those little differences add up over time. The preseason stage looms. Everyone knew the first preseason game would be the real test. Training camp buzz is one thing, but performing in a live game, even against second-string defenses, is where rookies either confirm a hype or crash back to earth. Sanders was set to get extended reps, and the crowd was already primed for him. Tickets to the game were selling faster than expected. The Browns marketing team even leaned into the moment with a social media post that featured both quarterbacks, but with Sanders front and center in the photo. It was subtle, but not that subtle. Why this moment matters beyond football. Here's the thing. What happened between Sanders and Gabriel wasn't just a quirky camp drama. It was a glimpse into how the modern NFL operates. Player reputations aren't built in a vacuum anymore. They're built in real time, in public, with fans watching every move. A decade ago, a conversation like that live stream would have been unthinkable. Now, it's a legitimate part of the competition. Mastering that arena is as important as mastering the playbook. And Sanders just proved he's elite at both. The Browns knew reality. As camp rolled on, one thing was becoming clear. The quarterback depth chart might not look the same by midseason. If Sanders kept stacking good practices and Gabriel didn't make a strong push, the path to QB2, and maybe more, was wide open. Game night, stadium lights buzzing. You could hear the muffled roar of the crowd, even from inside the tunnel. Sanders was suited up, helmet tucked under his arm, walking out with a kind of slow, deliberate stride that says, "I've been here before," even if he technically hadn't. Dillon Gabriel was ahead of him, leading warm-ups for the second-string group, but the difference in body language was undeniable. Gabriel's eyes were scanning the field like he was calculating everything. Sanders? He was soaking it all in, but there was no sign of intimidation. Amari Cooper jogged past, slapped him on the back, and said something that made Sanders smirk. The cameras didn't catch the words, but the body language told the story. The vets were behind him tonight. The crowd knows the moment. It was subtle at first. When Gabriel trotted on the field for his first series, the applause was polite, respectful, nothing more. But when the announcer called Sanders' name a quarter later, the place erupted. It wasn't just noise, it was anticipation. You could feel 60,000 people leaning forward, waiting for something special. First drive, composure on display. The Browns started at their own 25. First play, Sanders takes a snap, 3-step drop, hits his tight end on a quick out for 8 yards. Simple, clean. But what made it pop? The timing. The ball was out before the defender even broke, tore the route. Next play, play action, rolls right, looks downfield, and instead of forcing something risky, he hits the running back in stride for a first down. It wasn't a highlight reel throw, but it was quarterbacking at its purest, calm, decisive, efficient. By the time that drive ended with a short touchdown pass to a backup receiver, the crowd was roaring like it was the regular season. Gabriel feels the heat. When Gabriel came back in for his next series, you could almost see the weight on his shoulders. He wasn't bad. He made a couple solid completions, but every incompletion drew a few groans. Not boos, just frustration. The contrast between steady but unspectacular and Sanders' sharp, confident rhythm was becoming impossible to ignore. The 40-yard bomb. Midway through the second quarter, Sanders dropped the kind of pass that changes careers. Panthers lined up in a single high safety look, trying to bait him into throwing short. Sanders took the snap, saw the coverage rotate, and without hesitation launched a deep ball down the left sideline. It was perfect, dropped into the hands of a streaking receiver in stride, 40 yards downfield. Touchdown. The crowd went nuclear. Even the Browns sideline couldn't help reacting. Players jumping, high-fiving, helmets waving. Gabriel, he was off to the side, helmet on, clapping politely. But his eyes told the truth. The sideline vibe. You could feel the momentum shift in real time. Teammates gravitated towards Sanders between drives, not just receivers, but linemen, defensive backs, even special teams guys. It wasn't just about his arm. It was about the way he carried himself. No panic in the huddle. No wasted motions. When a play broke down, he didn't point fingers. He just regrouped and moved on. That's leadership that people want to follow. The media narrative forms. By halftime, the press box was buzzing. You could hear snippets of conversation. If this kid keeps it up, how do they keep him off the field? This isn't hype. He's doing NFL stuff already. Gabriel's got to be feeling this. On Twitter, Shedeur was already trending. The live stream showdown was now being spliced together with clips of him carving up the Panthers' defense. It wasn't just football fans paying attention anymore. It was casual sports followers, influencers, and even a few rival players chiming in with "this kid can play." Second half statement. The Browns didn't pull Sanders right away. They gave him the opening drive of the third quarter, and he treated it like it was the Super Bowl. He read a disguise blitz perfectly, stepped up into the pocket, and delivered a strike on 3rd and long to move the chains. Then came the play that might have sealed his reputation. 4th and 1 at midfield. Most rookies would take the safe handoff. Sanders looked at the sideline, saw the coach signaling the punt team, and shook his head. He lobbied in real time, calling for the offense to stay. Stefanski hesitated, then waved them back in. Snap. Play action. Sanders rolls right, tucks the ball, and outruns a linebacker for 12 yards and a first down. The sideline lost its mind. That wasn't just talent. That was a rookie dictating the moment. Post-game locker room energy. Final whistle blows. Browns win. Reporters flood the locker room, and you can see where they're headed, straight to Sanders' stall. Gabriel answers a couple of perfunctory questions, but the swarm is elsewhere. Sanders doesn't trash talk. He thanks his O-line. He praises receivers. He calls Gabriel a good vet and says he's just trying to do my job. But even in humility, there's that quiet certainty, the kind that says, I belong here and I know it. Internal fallout. By Monday morning, the Browns film review confirmed what the fans already felt. Sanders had made more plus plays in one night than some rookies manage in a month. His pre-snap reads were sharp, his timing was NFL fast, and his decision-making was nearly flawless. The front office took notice. Andrew Berry was reportedly grinning through most of the review session. Stefanski, still the cautious type, didn't commit to anything publicly, but the distribution of practice reps started to shift. Gabriel's reality check. For Gabriel, the math was brutal. He'd been outshined in practice, outshined in the media, outshined under the lights. And now, he was hearing whispers that Sanders might start taking his second-team reps entirely. It's not that Gabriel couldn't still contribute, but the narrative had shifted, and in the NFL, that's half the battle. Once momentum tilts toward the other guy, it's almost impossible to tilt it back. The bigger NFL picture. The league was watching, too. Other GMs were making mental notes. Scouts were looking at their own fifth-round picks and wondering if they'd miss a Sanders-type talent. Talk shows were debating whether the Browns should consider fast-tracking his development and seeing what he could do with the starters before midseason. It wasn't just about Shedeur anymore. It was about what his rise said about the future of quarterback development. The old model of letting rookies sit quietly and learn was looking more outdated by the day. Sanders' off-field play. Here's the kicker. Sanders didn't just perform on the field. He doubled down off it. He posted a single photo after the game, him in the tunnel, helmet in hand, with the caption, "On to the next one." No hashtags, no emojis, just cool, controlled confidence. That post racked up more engagement than the Browns' official game recap. Sponsors noticed. Teammates noticed. Even rivals noticed. The guy wasn't just winning games. He was winning the modern PR battle without even trying too hard. The road ahead. The Browns now had a decision to make, and it wasn't just about who would back up the starter. This was about momentum, public expectation, and the undeniable electricity Sanders brought every time he stepped on the field. Play it safe with the veteran, or lean into the future and risk upsetting the hierarchy.